Welcome to Conspiracy Q,
Wow.
your weekly top-secret investigation into history's most shocking and wild theories.
Good to be back.
Today, we're diving deep
Deep.
into a tragedy. It's shrouded in official explanations,
Yeah.
but whispered about as something far more
Oh,
sinister.
I love these.
The downing of TWA Flight 800, July 17th, 1996.
Ooh, I remember this one. This one's a doozy.
So, our recently uncovered or classified sources detail the official conclusion.
Okay.
A center wing fuel tank explosion,
Right.
likely triggered by faulty wiring,
Yeah.
a devastating accident,
Mm-hmm.
that claimed the lives of all 230 people on board.
Tragic.
Tragic. But as these same sources reveal,
Oh.
that's only one way of looking at it.
Okay, I like where this is going.
There's a counter-narrative
Yeah.
that refuses to die, a persistent theory that this was no accident at all,
Oh.
but a missile strike.
Wow.
Possibly friendly fire,
Oh, no.
or a concealed terrorist act.
Yeah.
So our top secret investigation aims to unpack this tale of two tragedies and explore what our sources call the long file of arguments and alleged evidence. For you, the truth seeker tuning into Conspiracy Q,
That's right.
we will dissect the key points and lingering questions surrounding this event. Okay, let's unpack this long file, starting with something our sources describe as the eyewitness tsunami.
Love it already.
What's fascinating here, and immediately raises questions, is the sheer number of people who reported seeing something unusual in the sky before the explosion.
Okay, yeah.
Our recently uncovered or classified sources highlight that over 200 credible witnesses pilots who are trained observers, experienced boaters, and individuals simply watching from the shore all described a streak of light ascending towards the aircraft. Many used terms like flare-like or said it resembled a firework heading upwards.
Huh. So untrained, but still credible.
Credible, yeah.
200 people.
200 people.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people. Now, the official explanation, as outlined in our sources, attempts to reconcile these accounts by suggesting that these witnesses actually saw the burning plane after the fuel tank explosion, and that the brief upward motion was simply the momentum of the crippled aircraft.
Okay.
But if you really dig into it, the proponents of the missile theory stand firm, arguing that this explanation, it just seems to defy basic physics.
Right.
How could a plane already breaking apart suddenly climb like that?
Yeah.
And more importantly, the witnesses were so specific about seeing the light going up to the plane,
Yeah.
not falling down.
That's really strange.
It's strange. It is. That's a crucial point. It raises an important question about how we interpret what people see, especially in moments of high stress and tragedy.
Of course.
While it's true that memory can be fallible,
Sure.
the consistency across so many independent accounts describing an ascending light prior to the main explosion is certainly compelling for those who suspect foul play.
Yeah, I see that.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
For sure.
What could explain so many people seeing the same thing if it wasn't actually happening that way?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is the question. Our sources even mentioned a CIA animation
Oh, interesting.
that was created to support the official narrative. Those who believe in the missile theory, they often view this not as a helpful explanation, but as a piece of manipulative propaganda,
Wow.
designed to make people doubt what they themselves witnessed.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
I can see that.
It creates this image of a powerful entity
Mm-hmm.
trying to control the narrative to tell people what they should have seen rather than acknowledging what they did see. Now, shifting gears slightly in our top secret investigation, our sources also bring to light what are described as radar data anomalies.
Uh-oh. I bet this is good.
Tell us about what these recently uncovered or classified sources reveal.
Happy to. So the sources indicate that multiple radar facilities were tracking TWA Flight 800 that night. The crucial element for the missile theory lies in the claim of what are termed uncorrelated targets appearing on these radar screens. These weren't just random blips. At least one seemed to follow a trajectory that brought it very close to, potentially even merging with Flight 800 right before its radar signature disappeared completely.
So if these weren't TWA 800,
Yeah.
what were they? Were they other planes in the area?
Well, the official explanation, according to our sources, attributes these anomalies to what's known as radar ghosts,
Okay.
reflections or atmospheric interference that can create false readings, or even distant surface vessels that might briefly register on radar.
Right.
However, those who lean towards the missile theory strongly contest this. They point to the fact that the movement and trajectory of some of these radar blips appeared quite consistent. suggesting a physical object moving on an intercept course. It wasn't just a fleeting random signal.
And our sources even note that some FAA air traffic controllers who were monitoring the situation at the time initially interpreted this data as a potential collision risk.
Oh, wow.
That's a pretty significant detail. That seems to go beyond just dismissing these as mere glitches.
Yeah, I mean, if the people whose job it is to look at this kind of stuff were like, uh-oh, something's wrong, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's their job, right?
Yeah.
To identify a potential collision risk.
Exactly. Exactly.
It adds a layer of credibility to the idea that there was something else in the vicinity of TWA 800 in those critical moments, something beyond just the aircraft itself.
Right.
If you connect this back to the numerous eyewitness accounts of a streak of light heading upwards, something physical in the sky moving towards the plane, a certain picture begins to solidify. In the minds of those who are skeptical of the official explanation,
Sure.
it suggests these weren't isolated incidents, but potentially pieces of a larger, more complex puzzle.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have these compelling eyewitness accounts.
Right.
And these radar anomalies that raise serious questions.
Yeah.
What about the physical evidence recovered from the wreckage itself? Our recently uncovered or classified sources discuss what they call physical evidence inconsistencies.
Okay.
What did investigators find?
This is where the debate becomes particularly intense. Our sources mentioned that initial reports and even sworn affidavits from investigators indicated the presence of trace amounts of high explosives, specifically PTN and RDX on pieces of the recovered wreckage.
Explosives.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of thing you'd typically find after a fuel tank explosion caused by faulty wiring.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah.
The official explanation that later emerged attributed these findings to a dog training exercise. That had taken place on the plane several weeks prior to the flight.
Okay.
The idea was that residue from simulated bomb detection training.
Oh, so they're saying like the bomb-sniffing dogs.
Yes.
Okay.
Might have lingered in certain areas of the aircraft.
So residual explosives.
Residual explosives.
Huh.
But those who believe in the missile theory find that explanation rather convenient, don't they?
Oh, yeah. I bet they do.
They certainly do. They argue that the specific location where these traces were found,
Okay.
as well as the type of explosive residue detected,
Mm-hmm.
are far more consistent with the detonation of a missile warhead.
Yeah.
Furthermore, our sources highlight that some analysts and crash investigators, including individuals who are reportedly involved in the early stages of the investigation, believed that the nature of the damage to the aircraft, including puncture marks, unusual tearing patterns in the metal, and the wide distribution of the debris field, all pointed toward an external, high-velocity explosion with shrapnel penetrating from the outside.
Oh, wow.
This is the very different kind of damage pattern than what you would typically expect from an internal fuel tank explosion, which would generally exert force outwards.
It would, yeah. Like, if it's exploding from the inside out, then you would expect the pieces to be going away from the center. But if something hit it, then, yeah, I can see how it would be different.
So the direction and the nature of the force that caused the damage are key points of contention here.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Okay.
I can see how the missile theory folks would be latching onto this.
An internal explosion tends to create a more outward bursting effect.
Exactly.
The missile theory proponents point to damage that suggests an external force, something impacting the plane from the outside. And then there's the abrupt cessation of the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. While a catastrophic explosion would certainly cause them to stop functioning, theorists question whether the data leading up to the halt aligns more closely with a slow internal fuel-air explosion buildup or a sudden, instantaneous missile impact. The abrupt silence, they argue, suggests a sudden and catastrophic event originating outside the aircraft.
Makes sense.
It's like looking at the same pieces of a broken vase and trying to piece together two completely different stories about how it shattered.
Exactly.
This naturally leads us to the critical question of motive.
Right.
If it wasn't an accident, why would there be a cover-up? Our recently uncovered or classified sources outline a couple of primary possibilities.
Okay.
The most widely discussed theory centers on the possibility of accidental friendly fire. Our sources confirmed that the U.S. Navy was indeed conducting exercises in the vicinity, specifically in nearby warning area W105 at the time of the TWA 800 tragedy.
Okay.
These exercises reportedly involved missile tests.
Huh.
While the Navy has consistently and vehemently denied firing any missiles capable of reaching the altitude of TWA 800, The potential political and military repercussions of accidentally shooting down a civilian airliner, especially one on an international flight, would be absolutely immense. The pressure to avoid such a catastrophic admission would be almost unimaginable.
Oh, yeah, that would be huge.
A political and public relations nightmare of epic proportions. And what's the other potential motive that our sources explore?
Okay.
The alternative is the possibility of a terrorist missile attack.
Oh, no.
Perhaps using a man-pads.
Right.
Which, for our listeners who might not be familiar, is a man-portable air defense system.
Yeah.
Essentially a shoulder-fired missile.
Right.
In the scenario, the government might have chosen to conceal the truth to prevent widespread panic among the flying public, to avoid the potential grounding of the entire airline industry, or perhaps because it would expose significant failures in intelligence gathering and national security. Admitting that a civilian airliner over U.S. airspace could be brought down by a terrorist missile would have had profound implications.
Absolutely, yeah. Nobody wants to think about that.
Both of those scenarios paint a picture of a government with a very powerful incentive to control the narrative and potentially suppress any evidence that contradicted the official accident explanation. This leads us to the disturbing allegations of suppression and intimidation that our recently uncovered or classified sources detail.
Oh, this is bad.
The sources highlight numerous claims from individuals who were involved in the investigation or who had relevant information. These include allegations that investigators within the NTSB, the FBI, and even independent experts who seriously considered the missile theory found themselves being sidelined, having their findings ignored, or even feeling pressured to alter their conclusion.
So they're not even letting them do their job?
No.
Oh, wow.
The name of retired NTSB investigator Hank Hughes is specifically mentioned in our sources as a prominent voice of dissent, someone who publicly questioned the official findings, someone who felt that the official investigation wasn't following all the leads or giving due consideration to alternative explanations. Precisely. And there are also numerous anecdotal accounts from eyewitnesses who claim they felt pressured by FBI agents during interviews to change their recollections, particularly their descriptions of seeing that ascending streak of light before the explosion.
Oh, wow.
The implication, according to these accounts, is that the authorities were actively trying to steer the narrative away from any suggestion of a missile strike. And then, as often happens in these kinds of cases, there are the more shadowy claims that are harder to verify.
Right.
The persistent rumors, though difficult to substantiate, of crucial radar tapes mysteriously being lost.
Oh, come on.
Or witnesses who initially provided compelling testimony later becoming unreachable or unwilling to speak further about what they saw or heard. These kinds of claims, whether true or not, often fuel the flames of conspiracy theories because they suggest a deliberate effort to erase or obscure potentially incriminating evidence.
So it makes you wonder, like, if it was just a simple accident, then why are you doing all this stuff? Yeah.
It all contributes to this pervasive feeling among those who question the official account that something just isn't right, that the full story hasn't been told. Our recently uncovered or classified sources conclude their examination of the evidence by summarizing a number of things that just don't add up. Let's touch on some of the key points they raise.
Sure.
One particularly notable point is the initial involvement of the FBI in leading the investigation. As our sources indicate, the FBI typically takes the lead in aviation disasters when there is a suspicion of a criminal act, such as a bombing, or indeed a missile attack. The subsequent and relatively swift handover of the primary investigative responsibility to the NTSB, an agency focused on determining the probable cause of transportation accidents typically involving mechanical failure, struck many as significant, and potentially telling shift in focus.
So wait, they're saying that the FBI was like, this seems like it might be, a crime.
Yeah.
And then the NTSB was like, nah, it's just an accident.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost as if they started out looking for one kind of answer.
Yeah.
And then, for whatever reason, settled on a very different one.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's certainly the implication that missile theory proponents draw from it.
Yeah.
Another point frequently raised is that the officially determined cause, a spontaneous explosion in the center wing fuel tank attributed to faulty wiring, was, while not theoretically impossible for a Boeing 747-100, an extremely rare occurrence.
Right.
With a very specific set of unlikely conditions needing to align. Critics argue that, while it might be a possible explanation, a missile strike offers a far more direct and immediate explanation. for the sudden and catastrophic destruction of the aircraft.
Yeah, I mean, that's Occam's razor right there.
Yeah.
The simplest explanation is usually the right one.
And finally, there's the matter of the painstaking reconstruction of the wreckage.
Oh, right.
Yes.
I remember seeing pictures of that.
The enormous and costly effort to piece together the mangled remains of the aircraft in a vast hangar in Calverton, New York. Yeah. Theorists claim that certain damage patterns observed on the recovered fuselage appeared to hint at an external impact, but that these findings were downplayed or dismissed by the official investigators. Furthermore, they allege that crucial pieces of wreckage from key areas of the plane, which might have provided more definitive evidence of an external explosion, were never recovered or were somehow missing, thus preventing a complete and unbiased understanding of the damage.
So are they saying that there are literally pieces of the plane that just disappeared?
It's unclear. So listener, what do you make of it all? Our recently uncovered or classified sources have presented two starkly contrasting narratives. Is the official explanation of a tragic accident caused by a fuel tank explosion the complete and unvarnished truth? Or does the weight of the eyewitness testimony, the radar anomalies, and the lingering questions surrounding the physical evidence point toward a much more unsettling reality, the reality of a concealed missile strike? The proponents of the missile theory, as we've explored, paint a chilling picture. A horrific event potentially triggered by either accidental friendly fire from a nearby military exercise or a deliberate act of terrorism, compounded by a subsequent and systematic cover-up driven by the powerful and understandable motives of national security and the desire to prevent widespread public panic and loss of confidence.
It's a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about. They vehemently argue that the sheer volume of credible eyewitness accounts describing that ascending streak of light streaking toward the doomed aircraft, the unexplained radar anomalies suggesting the presence of another object in the sky, and the persistent inconsistencies and unanswered questions surrounding the physical evidence recovered from the ocean floor cannot be simply dismissed as misinterpretations or conveniently explained away. Consider this as you continue your own top-secret investigation into this and other mysteries. In a world increasingly saturated with information, where official narratives can be meticulously constructed and dissenting voices sometimes marginalized or suppressed, how do we, as informed citizens, truly discern the underlying truth behind catastrophic events of this magnitude?
Yeah. How do we know what really happened?
What responsibility do we have to critically examine official explanations, especially when significant inconsistencies and compelling alternative theories continue to emerge from the shadows of doubt? This top-secret investigation into the tragic downing of TWA Flight 800, as presented by our recently uncovered or classified sources, leaves us with a profound and perhaps uncomfortable question about trust, transparency, and the enduring potential for hidden truths to remain buried beneath the immense weight of officialdom. Rate and follow Conspiracy Q to continue uncovering the worst conspiracies in history.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to be thinking about this one for a while.
Me too.
This is heavy.
It's heavy stuff.
I'm glad we talked about it.
I'm glad too.
Good.
See you next week.
See you later.